Hi everyone, it's Tuesday the 26th of March 2024. I'm just looking forward now with a preview of what's coming up, especially over what is the Easter weekend. So that's the 30th, 31st of March, 1st of April is Easter Monday. The big event in the distance running world is the World Cross Country Championships that take place in Belgrade, Serbia on Saturday morning, our time anyway, and their time. But just going to highlight a few other things. I thought I'd just highlight, I've watched and listened to a couple of things. The Distance Project on YouTube with Callum Elson, who was unfortunately quite seriously injured at the World Indoor Championships and has had an operation on his Achilles tendon recently, and he is documenting his return to fitness, which is going to take the best part of a year, I think, from the sounds of it. But great attitude, great way of presenting it across to people. So anyone who has been through injuries, going through injuries, etc., I think you've got an ally there, and it's worth having a watch. I'm also enjoying the Elliot Giles series as he's adapted his training in Olympic year to try and break into the top level at the championships, where there's heats and finals, etc. involved. So less emphasis on cross training and a little bit more running volume in there. And on the Sunday podcast this week, which is a podcast, of course, is Callum Johnson, who is part of the GB team at the World Cross Country Championships, and a really good interview with somebody who's mixing his running with a full-time employment and no sponsors really. And he talks about that and various other aspects of his career, and that's quite a good listen as well, I found. So reassuring to many that are in similar situation that you can achieve things without being a full-time athlete or part-time in part-time employment or with loads of sponsors. So yeah, a few things there worth watching. Just other than the World Cross, we've got the loads of road races going on. It always amazes me how many road races are going on in the UK. It shows the popularity of the sport in terms of recreation runners and people just doing it for their own ambitions and targets and charity and whatever. So it really does underline what an incredible sport it is, that so many people are out there giving it a go, trying to do their best, training hard, no doubt, and participating every single week. There's a couple of Easter festivals going on. There's the Isle of Man Easter Festival, which sees a 10k race, a hill race, and a 5k race take place. That always seems to be well received by those that travel up to the Isle of Man. And then there's the Guernsey Easter runs that have been going on for many years. I went years ago to it, and they have nowadays they have a cross country race, 5k race, a relay, and a 10k race. So not actually in that order. It starts with a 5k actually across the 4 days. So that's always well organised, and the 4 separate races combining for the overall wins, etc. Then looking abroad, I can remember not that long ago the meetings at Stanford, the Stanford Invite and the Peyton Jordan, which is in a couple of weeks' time, being some of the biggest events this time of the year in the world, and attracting some of the really top distance runners going after qualifying times, etc. Don't seem to be hitting those heights now, as there's other alternatives going on. But Stanford Invite is being shown on Flow Track with anyone who's paying this subscription, etc. And there's a few names to look out for there. I noticed on the entry list. Unfortunately, all on the men's side. There weren't many women on there that I particularly picked out. But the 800, well, actually, Matt Centrowitz, the Olympic 1500 meter champion from 2016, was it? He is entered in the 800 and the 5,000. Whether he's going to do both, I'm not sure. Might well do. As he's building up and trying to make another Olympic team. Similarly, Craig Engels is entered for the 5,000 and the 10,000, better known as a miler, 1,500 metre runner. Kai Robinson, who's been competing really well on the NCAA scene out there, he's in the 10,000. And there's a few Brits like Angus Harrington, who's in the 800, who ran 146 last year, I think. We've got Henry McCluskey, who's down for a 5,000, no doubt looking for a fast time. And Thomas George in the 10,000. So there's a few Brits to look out for. And I'm sure I might have missed one or two as I scan through all the entries for the Stanford invite, which is on Friday. Then let's get into the World Cross Country. First of all, I've scanned through the Sky channels, the BBC iPlayer, blah, blah, blah. Nothing. Can't find anything at the moment. I'm sure it's going to be on somewhere. It might be on the BBC Sport website eventually, but I can't see it. My best bet is if you look at the World Athletics Inside Track channel on YouTube or via the World Athletics website, it does mention you can watch the World Cross Country Championships on there. You just have to sign up. There's no subscription or anything paid. I've done it. It's very straightforward, and there's quite a few events being shown on that going forward. So hopefully that's at least one avenue that can be explored, and later in the week perhaps there'll be a few more open up. I'm sure it'll be on BBC somewhere. So the event takes place in the Park of Friendship, which is by the Danube River in Belgrade, Serbia. The races start at, well, I'll go on UK times. Well, I'll go on both. 10 o'clock UK time, 11 o'clock local time is the under 20 women. 11:35 local time, 10:35 UK is under 20 men. Then we got the mixed relay, which is 12:15 local, 11:15 our time. 12:45 is the women locally, 11:45 UK time. And then 1:30 is the men, which is 12:30 UK time. So they're the 5 races all on one day on Saturday. The GB team consists of, on the women's side, Neve Brown, Abby Donnelly, Alice Goodall, Lauren McNeil and Jess Warner-Judd, although Jess really was exhausted and dropped out at the 10,000 metre races in the States a week ago, so hopefully she's okay. The men's team, Will Barnicoat, who ran really well at the Podium 5K recently, Tom Evans, Callum Johnson, who I've mentioned, James Kingston, our very own James Kingston from Tunbridge AC, and Scott Sterling. The mixed relay team has Adam Fogg, Tom Keane, Alex Millard and Beth Morley. So solid team there. And then we got the 4 under 20 women and 4 under 20 men. And perhaps of those, the one that I think a lot of us would be interested to see how she gets on is Ines Fitzgerald, who's actually going in the women's race. And she didn't travel to Australia, as many of you will know, last year because she couldn't justify for environmental reasons travelling all that way for just the one race. But she's not dead against travelling. She's going to make her way to Belgrade, and so good luck to her and the rest of the British team. Just hope that all those named get there and don't have to pull out with illness, injury, etc. But there are reserves named. So looking at the races, I'm just going to look at the 2 main races, the men's and the women's. If you look at last year's result, which as I say was in Australia, it was Kip Limo, Aragari and Cheptegei were the first 3. They're all entered this year. 3 of the world's greatest distance runners and perhaps all-time distance runners are being amongst it. And then on the women's side, we've got Beatrice Chebet of Kenya, who won last year. She's entered. Agnes Ngetich, who was 3rd last year, is entered. But the 2nd place runner from Ethiopia, Gabra Salama, doesn't seem to be on the entry list this year. In fact, on the women's side, Ethiopia don't seem to be as strong as they could be, with my research, but this is only based on their PBs, etc. Kenya seemed quite strong. As I say, got Beatrice Chibet is not only the reigning champion, she's done 14:05 for 5,000. And Agnes Ngetic, who ran 28:46 on the road relatively recently. Also in there is Grovdal, European cross-country champion. I believe the course is going to be very dry and could be quite warm out there, and it's definitely very, very flat. I got word that they might be pouring a load of water on somewhere, probably straight from the Danube, to create a little bit of mud. So be interesting to see. You can see all the entry lists and go to their profiles for what honours they've won before, what PBs, season's best they've got. If you go onto the World Athletics and the World Cross Country website, you can see through in alphabetical order all the entrants for each country. On the men's side, this seems to me to be greater depth and much more difficult to pick out the ones that are going to be at the front. I'll just give you a flavour. I've mentioned some of these. Aragawi ran 12:40 for 5,000, 26:46 for 10,000 from Ethiopia. Joshua Cheptegei, world record holder at 5,000 and 10,000, 12:35 and 26:11. You have to remember these times, incredible. I remember the 12:35, but the 26:11 you tend to forget about or don't recall. Kip Korir from Kenya has done 12:46 and 26:58. Kip Karuri won the under-20 last year. Always look out for the under-20 winners coming through. Kip Limo has done 12:41 and 26:33. And Worku from Ethiopia has done 26:45. So loads of people in the 26 minutes area for 10,000 metres going in that race. So looking forward to that. And that's all I've got for this week.